So this is the Future Branding Leadership Forum featuring Mzamo Masito, the Managing Executive of Brand and Communications Africa at Vodacom. And that's the whole of Africa,
Yes.
Mzamo. Okay, so let's go back a little bit and ask where you're from, where's your hometown, where were you born?
I was born in Cape Town,
Yeah.
Gugulethu, in a township called Gugulethu. And then I grew up also in a village in the Eastern Cape. At the time, I think it was called Middle Drift, in a rural area called Ekes, and then I came back to Cape Town, and then I grew up in Khayelitsha
Okay.
township. So I grew up in Gugulethu,
Yeah.
in the villages, and then back Khayelitsha. And that's where I finished my grade 12, Khayelitsha.
In Khayelitsha.
Yeah.
And then where did you go on to study?
I then was lucky to go to the US. So I went to the US and Washington, D.C., but I didn't like it. And then I came back. I went to UCT.
You didn't like the university or
That's the place.
the place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I went to, I was lucky, I got a scholarship
Yeah.
again to study at UCT. So I went to the University of Cape Town.
Okay.
I studied there, and I did my undergrad and postgrad there.
Yeah.
And then I started teaching there at UCT, and then I got a job at TNS Research Survey.
Okay.
And then at TNS Research Survey, I was a statistician,
Yeah.
but I didn't stay there. I went back to school, and because I felt like I was bored, and all we were doing was coding,
Right.
and but coding questionnaires, and
Yeah.
just boring. So I thought that's not what I want to do with my life.
At TNS.
Yeah, at Research Survey, and they put us for too long in coding questionnaires. We're supposed to learn about the whole process from design questionnaire to in-field, and then when you receive the questionnaires, the coding of the questionnaires, and then, but I just felt like we spent too much time in coding, and it's not rocket science. You get the point after a few days,
Sure.
how to code a questionnaire. And then I left TNS Research Survey, and I went back to UCT. And then I went into a mock interview with Unilever. They were at the university doing mock interviews,
Yeah.
and they asked me if I want to go for the full interview, graduate program. So I went to Durban, which was the first time I was in Durban, and I went through the interviews, and I got the job
Okay.
at Unilever. So I started working as a researcher, statistician, in a consumer and market insights department. So I did insights analysis, we did data analysis, scenario analysis, and then we did a lot of like quantitative data research and qualitative research. We did a lot of like from product testing to packaging testing to pricing, simulated test markets to advertising research, preview, pre-test, pre-link, you name it. We were doing almost. That's the joy, I think, of being part of Unilever, is that you do just about everything.
So you became a scientist, a data scientist.
Yes, because we were learning a lot, and they teach you a lot, and that's one thing I must say I credit Unilever for. It gave me the foundation for the science of marketing and how marketing works, and I'm lucky that I started in insights. My career, I didn't start straight in brand management. I started as an insight specialist and data analyst, and that gave me a good strong grounding on, at the heart of marketing anyway, is what does the consumer want and why the consumer wants what they want. At the heart, if you can answer that, if nothing else, relevance comes from deep understanding of people And so that it helped me actually. I was lucky
Okay.
that I started there. So I then moved from being a functional expert, which is a researcher, and I decided that I was consulting to brand marketing or marketing teams, because I was part of their teams, but I was the sort of consultant, because my job was to be the voice of the consumer
At Unilever.
at Unilever. But then I wanted to do brand management, because I didn't want to be a specialist researcher or market researcher or insights all my life. I wanted to branch out, and they said I could branch out to brand management. So I moved from being like market research manager or managing a department research into brand management. So I became a brand manager, then I became a senior brand manager, then I became a marketing manager, then I became a marketing director, all at Unilever, looking at various brands, various categories, like from washing powder, detergents, Omo, Surf, Skip, to brands like household cleaners like Domestos, Handy, all of those. And then when I was a marketing director, which I must say I credit again Unilever, because they gave me a solid foundation on marketing, the science of marketing, and how marketing works. And also it's a great place to work. I still like Unilever a lot, because I'm partly who I am career-wise, because they helped me.
So which was your favorite
me.
brand?
At Unilever, it would have been Omo washing powder, purely because it's one of those brands that are like Coca-Cola. It's the Coca-Cola of washing powder.
But now what's fascinating me, and I might be wrong, has the branding of washing powder actually changed? Has it evolved over the years?
It has, even from a product innovation point of view. I mean, they've moved from just washing powder to tablets to liquids they've moved even product innovation on that, on from hand wash to twin tap, top loader, front loader, to there's actually moved. I mean, there's even ideas and innovations on oxygenated detergents, and so there's, from a product innovation, definitely. From
brand communication,
I think you must not, first you must be simple and understood, then clever. So, and you don't need to change what works. And human beings love consistency. It's the marketers that get bored before the consumer gets bored. So in the context of, if it's working, tweak it, enhance it, but you don't have to radically change it. And I don't think they've evolved in a sense that in the olden days, washing powder communication talked a lot more about only superior stain removal. And it moved beyond that to higher order benefits about let your kids play, let your kids get dirty so that they become successful. So you see, it took on a more emotive benefits rather than functional benefits only. Whereas in the past, all it did was just focus on the emotional benefit of superior stain removal. And still, as it progressed in terms of communication, it still kept the superior stain removal communication, but it added a lot more humane benefits on if you let your child get dirty, the benefits of play and the benefits of letting your child get dirty and what they will become in the long run. And that don't worry about the stains, Omo will take care of the stains, let your child play, because play is linked to development, mental development, curiosity, all of those things, which is very different from what it used to be in the past, where all you did was just focus on, it's like if I look at the petrol, diesel industry, they're still stuck in sometimes focusing on performance of clean petrol, clean diesel, or it does this, it does that. Every now and then I see some of them trying to move out of just functional benefit of diesel, petrol, into an emotive benefit of the family or emotional benefits you derive from the petrol you use, from the diesel, and more the experiences that you get from it rather than clean diesel, clean. I mean, how many people remember that? So so I might say, it might not have been a revolution, but it has been the right evolution for a washing powder. After all, it's a washing powder.
So dirt is going to be good for a long time.
Probably, especially now that Unilever focuses a lot on Unilever Living Sustainable Plan and how to double the size of the business while increasing social impact. So it talks to social impact while cleaning clothes. So I think so. But I think now, if I look at having moved at Unilever when I left Unilever, I went to teach actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I went to teach at UCT.
So you enjoy lecturing?
Yes, I love teaching. I love sharing. I'm very curious. So I'm like at Nike, they have a maxim called "be a sponge," and I like that idea that to be a sponge, just learn as much as you can. You are always a student and rarely a teacher. Most of the time you're a student, and sometimes if lucky a teacher. So I was lucky to be a teacher, and even then I was a student because I was learning a lot from those students. So I was lecturing at UCT and a convener for marketing, market research, consumer behavior, so those courses. And while I was there, I started my own consultancy, and I ran a consultancy firm, and I was specializing in the things that I had learned. I combined the market research that I learned, then I combined the brand management skills that I had learned. So I combined the two, and I started an agency that did both. Basically, provided market research services, but also brand management services to clients and companies. And I had a few clients, and after 3 years, in the third year of doing that, Nike called, and they were looking for marketing director for Nike or head of marketing for Nike, and they asked if I would like to go through the interviews. I said sure, and it was probably 2007, 2008, and we had just announced that we've won the World Cup 2010 beat.
Oh, good.
So I was like, I want to be part of the World Cup, being part of the World Cup, and I thought it was at an opportune time. The universe just conspired with me because I really wanted to be part of the World Cup, and I didn't know at what capacity but I wanted to be part of it. And when Nike called and said, "Do you want to be considered?" and I liked the brand and I love sport, so I thought it's a perfect fit. So
Are you a runner?
Yeah, hardcore runner.
Hardcore?
Yeah,
okay.
Marathons, ultra marathons.
Wow.
From Comrades to Two Oceans to New York Marathon or Amsterdam Marathon. All of those I ran. And so I joined Nike. I was lucky I got the job. So I went from here, interviews, to Europe, Amsterdam, Hilversum. From Hilversum to Portland, and I got the job. And I must say, it's one of the best companies I worked for. From a brand-centric, consumer-centric, and highly innovative, big ideas company. Even though I would say Unilever taught me the science of marketing, Nike taught me the art of marketing. There's just I used a lot more intuition. I used a lot more gut. I thought a lot more big ideas first, never been done before, bold ideas, sometimes scary, but we do it anyway. And the environment was just healthy for big ideas, and the environment, as much as it measures stuff, it doesn't measure as much as Unilever measures. Unilever measured everything. We over measured. You know, when you over science things. At Nike, somehow they found the balance between art and science. It is as if they live in the intersection between art and science. And they do measure some things, but not a lot. It's you measure as like brand health, brand equity, but really they'll measure the ad, you preview the ad, you pre-link the ad, you do qual research on the ad, advertise. a lot of it is relying on the custodians of the brand to deeply know that consumer, deeply serve the athlete, know the athlete, be passionate about sport, be passionate about the brand, be loyal to the brand, but also serve the brand well, and just love the sport. And at the core of Nike is athletic performance sport and serving the athlete, and the athlete is the king, and you just, all your job is just to use the beauty of the athlete sometimes, and sometimes you use the greatness of the product, and you build the brand. And sometimes it's both, it's the product and the athlete. Sometimes it's just the athlete, but it's always both product and athlete, product innovation. And in Nike they give you great product innovation, so they make it easier for a brand person to tell the story anyway, because the product in itself talks. So by the time you have to tell the story, it's like 60% of your job is done, and you just adding flavor to an already great product. So which makes life much easier, I must say, because the worst thing is to get a bad product and then be asked to make it look good. And I consider that not marketing. I consider it spinning.
Somebody told me once, nothing is worse than good marketing for a bad product.
Yes, because for me, that's spin doctoring. That's not marketing. Actually, that's just close to being unethical in a sense, because you just spin doctoring. You are lying. And you are doing your level best to camouflage ugliness and make it look beautiful. So that doesn't appeal to me. What appeals to me is great product, a great athlete, a great story, then told better and told well. And I mean, the job we do is to creatively dramatize reality. Ideally, it should be reality that we creatively dramatize. When we start making, we start making shit up, it's bad. We shouldn't be really trying too hard to make things up. We should be taking reality and creatively dramatize it. So that was Nike for me. It was the best time when it was right in World Cup. I was writing in World Cup, and we did a lot of great stuff, legacies for, like if you go to Soweto, you see the Soweto Football Club,
Nike Center.
And that's a Nike legacy during World Cup. And Nike was bold enough to take that decision to invest millions of dollars and leave a legacy.
And it's still running today.
And it's still running today. And it's that when you use sport as a tool for social change at a profit. So profit is still important, but it becomes more soulful when you wrap it with being useful to society. It's even more soulful for me. It makes me sleep well at night, even when I earn that bonus, because it is important that I earn the bonus, but it's always nice when you earn the bonus wrapped up in a soulful way. Yeah, so then I left Nike, and then I went back to teach. So every time I leave campus, I go teach.
So that's almost your destiny.
I think that's the end. It's just teach. And then Unilever asked me to go back to Unilever. So I went back to Unilever, and I first did media, which I've never done before. I headed up media for Unilever Africa, and which was new for me. It was a new challenge because I've never done media before, as in being a media, head of media. But I liked it because I had to learn something new, and I had to relaunch all of media for Africa. I had to introduce digital. At the time, digital was probably like 1% of the total media spend. We had to push it up to 15% of total media spend. So it was exciting times, and introduce sponsorship deals, which Nike, Unilever didn't have. And because of my experience from Nike, we introduced like rugby, football, influencers, like sign people like Mini, all of them into the Unilever stable. And that was exciting to do stuff that were never done before. And then I got appointed to the board of Unilever as the vice president for the foods business. And then while I was there, I decided that actually my kids are here in Joburg, and I was based in Devon. And I was starting to feel like my career was going well, but my presence as a father
Suffering.
And ideally I want to win Father of the Year trophy.
Okay.
Not CEO of the year. I think I will sleep well at night or dead if I'm a good father rather than
How old are your kids?
Great CEO. My kids are 14 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the time, which was 4 years or 5 years back, I was thinking, I'm worried that they're going to become 13. And at the time they were like 7, 8, 6 or something. And I was worried that they will become 13, 14. By the time they're teenagers, and I'll lose them. And by the time I blink, they will be old, and my role in their lives and influence that I would like to have will be non-existent. And also because my father didn't raise me, biological father, so I just didn't want to repeat the cycle. And I think we're all born in families to break cycles, so I didn't want to perpetuate the cycle rather than you must break it, not perpetuate it. So I left Unilever to come and be in Joburg to be with the kids. And fortunately, while I was leaving Unilever, then Vodacom called, and they were looking for a managing executive for Vodacom Group Africa for brand. And I thought, hey, I've never worked in a telco or ICT business before. And I mean, ICT is the present and the future. It is the fourth horizon. So and I thought my knowledge of ICT at the time was very low, and my knowledge of telco was very low. So I thought, hey, here's an opportunity to really learn about technology, to learn about telecoms, but also I was curious about, can we use telecoms as a tool for social change at a profit, and that technology can be a tool for social change at a profit. So I was always interested in that. And when now, I mean, Vodafone mission, or I mean, purpose now is to connect people to live a better today and build a better tomorrow. Those things appeal to me, because what I'm interested in is how do you use technology to do that, and how do you do that while making money?
So would you say that communication can solve many, many problems in this world?
It can be part of the solution. I don't think it's the only ingredient or variable, but it can definitely be part of the solution. And I think it can either amplify, or it can inform, it can educate, it can entertain, or it can galvanize people to act, or it can just start a revolution of some sort. So it does have its role. After all, we are all communicators. After all, everything happens via communication. So it can, but if it's wrapped with a great story, that's when it really has an impact. When you're not creating or spin doctoring, but you're genuinely telling great stories, and you're making an already good story great, or an already great story even greater. So that's when it has, I think for me, it has even greater impact, communication and even marketing. So anyone who argues that marketing or brand management must justify its existence or has no place, I'm not sure which planet they are from. Clearly here on Earth. I'll be surprised if they don't understand the value of marketing or brand management, even if sometimes marketing is a mixture of art and science. Not everything in marketing you can measure the same way. If you're in finance or some engineering disciplines, you can put everything into a number. And why should life be that way anyway? Life doesn't have to be only pure numeric. I mean, I'm a statistician by training, but it doesn't have to be all numbers. Life can be quantitative and qualitative, and it doesn't have to be either or. It can be and. And why this obsession with having a superiority complex that because it can be measured, therefore it is the only way? And sometimes we can't measure feelings. We can't measure attitudes. We can try, but sometimes we can't measure gut. Oh, that's going to work. And you can't measure that we made someone cry, or we made someone loyal, and we made someone a repeat buyer, and you make someone buy more, pay more. You make someone become price inelastic, or even loyal, and you retain some of these things we can measure, some you can't measure, and you need to accept that living in that intersection of art and science, and know that some things we can measure, and we should, because that adds more credibility to the boardroom, to be able to have a discipline that can be measurable, that has measurables or KPIs, but at the same time, the discipline should not obsess with it so much that it loses art, because after all, partly we're artists.
Absolutely.
We're here to make art.
So what would you say is driving Mzamo?
I would say what drives me, other than wanting to be a good father and being communal. The second part is being communal. I grew up in a village where they taught me that being communal is like truly the concept that makes one, shows that they understand that balance is important and that interdependency is important. That when my neighbor loses his cow or cows or field, my job is to restore balance, is to help my neighbor back and put them back into a good state, restore their dignity, and not be selfish, and not just be all about I, but make sometimes we greater than I, and always be conscious of a collective, not rather than just the individual. As much as in the village, they've never been, in the villages I grew up in, or the one I grew up in, they were not communist or socialist, they were communal. I mean, I think Dr. Ruokoza makes this clear that there's a difference being communal and being a communist or socialist. In the village, there were people with more cows and more land, and they were more hardworking, more lucky or luckier than others, inherited more or less. But one thing in the village I grew up in that I liked, they were a lot more communal. They understood that my stability is also dependent on your stability, and that if my neighbor is stable, I will always be stable. But if my neighbor is unstable and my neighbor has nothing or loses all their cows and I don't help, at some point my neighbor, for survival's sake, will come steal from me. Not because they want to, but for survival. So because I am partly responsible for creating that imbalance. So I like the idea of being communal. Like, for example, we started an NGO. We have like 30 kids now that we help, where we, like me, I grew up in Gugle to Kailicha, poverty, apartheid, Bantu education, and we want to provide opportunities to gifted, talented kids through education. And because we really agree with Noam Chomsky when he says to be free and gifted without opportunity is a devil's gift. And it is truly a devil's gift. To be free, gifted, without opportunity is a devil's gift. I think it is more painful now to be in South Africa free, black, gifted, and no opportunities. I think it's a greater hell on earth than to be in apartheid, no opportunities. At least there, you kind of know your hell. You are in hell already. So it's your expectations are well managed, and people tell you you're black and you know your place. Now you're free and gifted and no opportunities. So it's just, it lacks the culture of being communal, because it must really be the most frustrating place to be in on earth, to be gifted free without opportunity. And that's really a devil's gift, and it's a gift that I don't think, it troubles me. And I'm lucky that I got out of the maze of Gugule to Kailicha village, because that's a maze, because very few get out and be at the level that I'm in. So I was lucky. But a majority didn't make it, but because it's a maze, it's a difficult maze to get out from. And so that's the second thing that drives me, being communal. And the third one is, I consider it soulful capitalism as money with meaning. It's not just money, but I don't have a problem with capitalism or money, I don't think per se at the core of money or capital there's something wrong with the idea, but I think it's been perverted, and I think it's lacks soul and meaning. And what I'm interested in is, how do you work for companies, or how do you, like we here at Vodacom now, and we have come up with a purpose that we want to be able to connect people to live a better day and build a better tomorrow, while still making money and increasing shareholder value. We shouldn't hide that and be apologetic about that. Also something that we need to do. But how do we do it responsibly? And how do we do it in a way that increases social impact, in a way that reduces environmental impact, in a way that is a win-win for us and society, in a way that society looks at it and looks at us and say, I am democratically volunteering to take my wallet and my money and be a loyal consumer of this brand, because in return, this is what they do for society. And this is how we benefit from them being around. So that's the third thing I would say. That's like, hopefully that becomes my heaven on earth.
So would you say communal leadership should be about creating opportunities for others?
Yes.
Very much like Ubuntu is supposed to work.
Yes, it should be. You know, I heard once, I don't know who made the statement, was that they said if you go up the lift and you get to the penthouse, you must remember to press ground to bring many others up with you. You must not be happy with just you being celebrated, you in the penthouse. It's actually unstable. It's an unstable state to be the only person in the table, or to be the only person in the pen, and you're not bringing, and it doesn't bug you and doesn't trouble you the fact that you should be bringing a few more people up with you, because that's being communal. And that's for me the thing. It's just, what kind of a leader then do you become if you are not communal?
So in your view, with all the technology at our disposal, what is stopping leaders, what is stopping us from creating more opportunities for communities, in communities?
I think we're so self-absorbed, and we're so running on this treadmill of I, and then we all make promises that when I become rich, or when I have enough money, then I will start that program. But that program of being communal does not need a lot of cash, and nor does it need a lot of time. It's just something you start, and you don't need much to start it, because people in the villages, some of them are communal and they're very little, and they make the little time or the time, and we can make this happen now. You don't need to wait. So it's just moving away from just heavy concentration on I, to finding the balance and living in the intersection between I and we. I and we. I mean, when I watch football or sport, because I love sport a lot, but especially group sport or team sport. And what I found with team sport is that the reason sometimes like team like Barcelona, or they are a great team, is because they have individual excellence, but they also have team excellence. So the individual brings their brilliance into the team, and then the team is made greater by individual brilliance. So you can't, as much as I talk about a collective and communal, in the villages I grew up in, they encouraged hard work. They encourage the men who worked harder. They accepted the fact that you should be rewarded more. So the part about being an individual, it doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong being focused on the individual, but there's something fundamentally wrong when the individual far exceed the importance of the collective. Because I mean, someone once said to me, when the poor runs out of food, they will surely eat the rich. And they're right, because if I live in Sentin and I am not deliberate and conscious of the fact that there are people who live in Alex, or there are people who are struggling, and what is my contribution in helping, in making sure that I restore balance. I'm not interested in equality in its pure form, because I don't think it will ever exist, but I'm interested in fairness and balance, some balance, where some will be always rich, some will be middle class, but at the moment the Gini coefficient or the level of inequality is just, the gap is just too big.
Well, maybe now is the time to focus on that, because I believe next year is going to be the centenary of Madiba.
Yes.
100 years,
Yep.
18 July 2018.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully we can have debates and action around communal leadership.
Yeah, no, we should. I mean, we should not only talk about communal leadership, we should also talk about a society, social cohesion. And one of the things we don't talk about a lot in growth, when we talk about growth or economic growth or moving people out of poverty, unemployment, we underplay the importance of unity. And we underplay the importance of social cohesion. And the truth is that South Africans, we're not united. We still live on racial lines. We live on tribal lines. And gender unities, there's male dominance, macho, and then there's female oppression, still at large. Like, we are not a united people. Even within black people, we are not united. Even amongst white people, you have Afrikaner people, then you have English people. Then within Afrikaner, you have the Afrikaners from the Cape, and then Afrikaners from Pretoria. So there's the same. We've underplayed the importance of social cohesion or social capital in economic growth or in development. And it's another area, it's a softer side of growth. It's not neoclassical microeconomics, but nations that are not united are not pulling the same way. We're not pulling same direction. Everyone's pulling left, right, center, north, west, east. We're not pulling, and that makes life even more difficult. And all we're going to have in this country then is, you're going to hear black people say, all blacks must just unite with blacks, all whites unite with whites, all Indian unite, Chinese with Chinese. At the end, we just have a federal state within a state of races. That's it. It's still no unity, and I'm not sure what it does for the master brand called South Africa. I don't think it strengthens the master brand. I think it actually weakens it over time. So it's an area that I hope government and us as citizens, we also think about it at heart. How do we decrease the social gap between us? How do we decrease the gap between white and blacks? Even coloreds and blacks, Indians and blacks, blacks and blacks. There's lots, the distance and the trust. Because where there's no trust, also there's very weak social cohesion. So we don't trust each other. Forget about loving each other. I think that's a stretch. You're asking for too much. Just trusting each other, uniting towards a common goal, and being just united and genuinely South African first, and very strong, united, and pushing towards a goal that will help everyone prosper, or at least have a fair opportunity to prosper, or equal access to prosper. So all of that. So that's, I would say, those would be the things that I'm probably passionate about.
Okay.